Log, May 3rd, 2016. So, we're back to ill-advised sequel territory with the announcement of Space Jam 2. Space Jam 2. Really? This is a thing that Warner Brothers thinks anybody's gonna see? If it's a thing that never got a sequel, at this point, the odds of it getting a sequel are better than it not, no matter how long it's been. And in fact, if it's been a nice round number, if it's real close to 20 or 30 years, maybe even 40, that's unprecedented, I think, but I could see that happening now. There's more of a likelihood at this point of it getting a sequel than not, and certainly more of a... Because I never thought I'd hear an announcement of Blade Runner 2. More of a likelihood of it happening than not, and certainly more of a likelihood of it happening than a studio taking a chance on some new project that could be, say, the next Space Jam or the next Blade Runner. Not meaning a clone of that thing, but the next thing that is considered a classic or a cult classic or whatever. Now, I'm not calling Space Jam a classic. I'm not saying that that is a great movie, but it's a cult classic in the sense that there are a lot of us that grew up with that movie that have a lot of nostalgia for it and remember really liking it. It's not a thing that holds up real well, I don't think. I've gone back to it once or twice. I remember it being a much cleverer movie than it is. It's a thing that has a lot of polish to it. I think it looks really good, and I like the animation of that movie a lot. I think that some of the cameos and stunt casting and stuff is really fun. I think it's absolutely nuts that they got Bill Murray to do that movie. It seems like if he gets to play himself, he's more inclined to do a thing, and maybe he just wanted to get to be on screen with Michael Jordan. Maybe he had never met Michael Jordan, I don't know, maybe he was friends with Michael Jordan, and I've never looked into the history of that, but it was a big novelty for me when I was a kid. I don't see how a sequel to this makes any sense. So it's gonna be, well, first of all, let me say that this is kind of more in announced territory than it is confirmed, definitely going to happen territory. So it's not in pre-production or anything. It's a project that's in the stage of there's a director attached, Justin Lin, and there's and a writer has been hired, and there will be a script. And if Warner's doesn't like the script, it's very possible still that this could be a project that would get scrapped. I imagine, this doesn't strike me as a thing that it could possibly make enough money to warrant its existence, unless it ends up looking like a way different thing, and appeals to an audience beyond just people that are nostalgic for that movie. And it's gonna have to try to appeal to two different audiences simultaneously. Certainly there are, and I mean, there's some crossover, but I don't know that there would be enough. Like, you'll have certainly people who are basketball fans who maybe like LeBron James and want to see the modern take on this. This sounds so weird to say. The modern take on this, basketball now with Looney Tunes crossing over, but by and large, I think it's gonna appeal to, or at least it's gonna have to try to appeal to, I don't know that it actually will, people who loved Space Jam and are nostalgic for it, that want to have that experience of what it was like when they were kids again, and people who are big into basketball and want to see LeBron James play himself. That's the demographic. You know who it won't appeal to? The audience that it did in the 90s, the preteen and little kid audience. It was a kids movie with Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan, who was really hot right then and was a big role model for children. LeBron James is certainly the closest thing to Michael Jordan we have right now in popularity for basketball. I don't keep up with basketball real hard, but he's certainly, he's considered by a lot of people to be the face of the NBA. That's an arguable, kind of a questionable thing. He had a period there where he had fallen out of popularity, and a lot of people really didn't like him. And some of that blew over, and his image is kind of back and intact now. But one thing I'm seeing a lot in articles about this is, hey, LeBron James, how about you stop making movies and try to start winning again? Apparently, he hasn't had the best last couple seasons, so that's kind of funny. He certainly isn't I don't think, and again, I don't keep up with basketball real hard, but he doesn't seem to permeate the way Michael Jordan did. He doesn't seem to like certainly he has a lot of endorsements, and you see him a lot of places, and he's already started an acting career. And Michael Jordan didn't have an acting career. I don't know if he ever was in another movie besides Space Jam, and that was kind of just a star vehicle thing to cash in on his popularity at the time. I'm talking about a thing as far as basketball, the basketball side of this, and LeBron James himself, that I don't really know a whole lot about. So I'm certainly not an authority in this area, so feel free to leave comments and correct me if you think I'm wrong about this. But I wonder if we're not too far past his heyday, that maybe this would have made more sense, 3 or 4 years ago. But Michael Jordan was certainly, toward the end of his career, he had left basketball and was trying to get into Major League Baseball, and famously wasn't very good at it. And the movie kind of makes fun of that and deals with that a little bit. And I don't know that LeBron James is even in the same place in his career. He's not really, as Michael Jordan was. So it's like it's not at the tail end, but it's also not at the heyday. And so I don't know that he's gonna draw enough people to the theater. I think it's going to be more that the title and the Looney Tunes thing. I think if this movie has any legs at all to stand on, it's going to be just, once again, nostalgia factor and brand and title recognition. That's it. If you got to do a star vehicle for LeBron James, give him something else, make up something else, be it a comedy or a drama or whatever it is. But he was in a movie, what was it, last year or the year before, called Trainwreck. That was a pretty critically acclaimed movie. I think 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of critics, I haven't seen it, but a lot of critics say that it subverts expectations real well, and kind of gets away from a lot of the romantic comedy formula stuff, and that LeBron James's acting is pretty good in it. So if he's actually a decent actor, and he's already been, and it's amazing that you'd have a movie called Trainwreck that isn't one. You gotta be really bold and really believe in your movie to call it something like Trainwreck. It's just like The Punisher. If you're gonna make a Punisher movie, it better be really good, or you're gonna risk critics saying 2 hours of pure punishment, which is what a couple critics said about the Thomas Jane movie, but I think they were wrong. But I digress. So so I just think that there are other things you could do with it. You don't have to go back to the well and rely on brand recognition and play it safe like that. But more to the point, I don't think you're playing it safe. I think you obviously you do that because you think you are, but I don't see how that movie makes any money. I think doing more Looney Tunes stuff is a good idea. Back in Action didn't work and wasn't terrible. I enjoyed a lot of things about that movie. I thought Brendan Fraser was really funny in it, and I don't usually like him a lot. But so coming up with some way to integrate live action and Looney Tunes again and do a different story would be really risky, and I don't know that it would make money any way you sliced it, given how that movie didn't perform. But then the advertising wasn't anywhere for that movie when that came out. So I don't know, but certainly doing another Space Jam doesn't seem like the way to go to me. And also, and so I said earlier that kids are probably this is not gonna appeal to them so much. This is gonna be more for, I'm 31, and this movie was very much aimed at my age group when I was a kid. I'm already in my 30s. So those of us that would be nostalgic for this thing are full-blown adults, and pushing 30 or already in our 30s. kids these days aren't growing up with Looney Tunes like I was. The majority of them, they're not rerun all the time on television like they were when I was a kid. I'm sure there are some, but like my kid wouldn't know what Looney Tunes was if I didn't have the box sets of the old cartoons and I didn't show them to him. And I'm sure there are tons of kids that don't even know what that is. So this isn't a thing that would immediately appeal to them just because it's animation, just because it's a cartoon. And it would seem like, an old nostalgia trip for your parents. I don't know how you include that demographic, and it seems like it would have to, I would think, to perform well. And then, as I said, what would the story be? Is it the Monstars come back and we challenge them to a basketball game again? I'm glad it's not like the direct-to-video Angels in the Outfield sequels. I'm glad it's not like I'm glad it's not like space putting or space base stealing or space extra point kick or something. I'm glad we're not doing that, I guess. But like any way you slice it, I don't know how it's not just another carbon copy. I think what it's probably going to want to do is have cameos by a lot of basketball players that were big at that time and that maybe even were in the first Space Jam. If Shaq doesn't show up in this movie, I'll be real surprised. And they might even try to bring back some of the same cameos from people that they had before, like Bill Murray. I also wonder if Danny DeVito might come back and voice the lead Monstar guy again, or maybe it'll be just a totally different alien race, or not even aliens, or something, so I don't know. Like I said, I would really love to see Looney Tunes back in the spotlight again. I know there was a kind of more adult-oriented, not like adult, but really talky Looney Tunes show that Steve tells me is brilliant, and I've not watched it, but Looney Tunes as a little kid thing hasn't been really, on our radar in a long time, and certainly this isn't the way to do it. I also don't think that that's the main motivation for this. Clearly, it's got to be more cash in. Like, I don't even think it's about LeBron James. I think it might be to a degree, but not like Space Jam was about Michael Jordan. I think it just like with so many of these things, it's just brand recognition. We've got to put out something that people are already familiar with, and that is more of a surefire bet than trying something original. I don't mean to always be on the you must do something original bandwagon. Certainly adapting good stories from comics and books and things is a good idea. Certainly, there are things that warrant sequels, and there are things that are older that warrant sequels, and sometimes things even warrant remakes, especially when they were good, solid ideas that weren't executed real well in the first place. So I'm not being a prude about this. I don't mean to say that, oh no, all we make are sequels and remakes and adaptations, and we never do anything original. But it's about variety. There's just too much of this stuff and not enough original stuff. And I think that if we used our imagination, we could do something that would be the next Space Jam as opposed to making Space Jam again. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and leave your comments to let me know what you think. Anybody actually excited about this? Anybody think this is a really good idea? Anybody who just loves Space Jam? Like I said, it's a thing that I really liked when I was a kid, and that I still certainly have nostalgia for, and will occasionally go back and watch it again. I don't think it's a good movie, but it's certainly something that I still kind of enjoy. Anybody nostalgic enough for it that you really want to see another one? Anybody think that this is a thing that could really improve upon the other one? And anybody a big giant LeBron James fan that wants to see him mixed in with Looney Tunes? Leave your comments, let me know what you think, and in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, and this concludes today's Captain's Log.